Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. On today's little woodsy drive, we are going to be talking about whether or not you should be excited about the next generation WRX and STI. Yes, this will be a controversial video. I bet you guys are all going to get mad at me in the comments, but I promise you we're going to talk about some stuff that you haven't really heard on the internet regarding the next generation Subarus, because nobody really wants to talk about it because they have no incentive to talk about it. And right now, I want to talk about the general sentiment about excitement, because I feel like it is very common right now to see people say, I would like to wait for the next generation. I'm going to wait for them to release an STI. I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for this. And that's always been historically something that people have done with the Subaru platform, because they typically come out with pretty awesome cars. Now, I think the VB WRX, which is the 2022 Plus WRX, which is one of the WRXs that I'm sitting in and own currently right now, was the first iteration where people were maybe not as excited. I think that maybe the 08 WRX and STI maybe had the same sentiment a little bit, but they quickly got out of that, and they didn't have as much news and kind of rhetoric around the fact that they were having to really figure out how do we even produce exciting cars, because the EPA, the fleet requirements around just generally miles per gallon and all that stuff, there's a lot of things demanding Subaru to not produce performance cars, essentially. Now, I really wanted to make this video because I think a lot of people are falling into this trap of, one, that there's going to be an STI or WRX coming out anytime soon. We're still years out, but I also want to come out and talk about some of the economics around, are we really going to see something that has a crazy amount of power, or does a 0 to 60 ridiculously fast, or anything like that? And I think the important conversation that has to be had is the incentive Subaru has to actually do that. The economics don't lie. The more Subarus they can sell for a higher price to a larger audience, the more money they make, the more profit they make, the more materials they can purchase, and the lower price of their materials, and so on, and so on. Also, the more they can do to adopt a global Subaru platform, the better, meaning share parts with other cars, which inherently is not good from a performance standpoint, because consumer daily average cars are not built with performance in mind. And where am I going? You can obviously see where I'm going. I'm going with the idea and the general sentiment. And again, this is somewhat of an opinion, but I don't think that it's much of an opinion, because I think a lot of fact backs this up. We shouldn't be excited about the generations to come. I think we can be excited in that you buy a lottery ticket and you're excited to win the lottery, but I think that all the evidence would indicate that that is not going to be the case. Now, a lot of people on this channel that watch my videos say, now where is the evidence, where are the facts, right? And what they're really looking for is Subaru to release a car and then use that as factual basis. Now, that will never happen, and that's a bad way to produce and form an opinion and an argument. The facts that I'm looking at is, one, the actual publication of information from Subaru regarding the decision not to make an STI, quoting that it is fleet mileage, needing more time, having the average mileage, or consumption, fuel consumption, and basically EPA requirement conformance was too hard. Also, just pressure from the EPA to make something that is compliant over the long term was hard for them. And pushing more power over a fleet can be very difficult, because you got to cut from somewhere else. It may also, they may, this is conjecture, but they may not have had financial incentive to do that. I don't know what their profit margins were on the STI versus some of their more readily available vehicles that are cheaper to manufacture, let's just say. And I think one of the things that's extraordinarily interesting about the situation that fits what Subaru is facing is that the VB is very much proving to them that they don't need to have this super rally sports car to sell numbers and to sell the volume they need to have success. So that's another thing, is if you look at the general sales data, everyone will say the WRX isn't selling very well, but they're wrong. The numbers don't lie. The WRX, especially relative to what the market is doing, is selling quite well. And yeah, sure, there are months where it's underperforming other months, but we're coming out of one of the worst economic situations that we've been in since 2008. So obviously there are going to be some levels of downturn, but if you make that a comparative statement against other vehicles that are being sold and difficulties that other manufacturers are having selling other cars, the WRX is selling very well. That is irrefutable. That is not an opinion, that is fact. And I think the other big thing, just generally the big thing, is we are seeing this loss of investment in the aftermarket. Now, this is going to be the toughest pill to swallow, and it's something that, where is my proof? Where is my proof? The fact that I do this for a living. I design parts for these cars for a living. I've been in the aftermarket industry for the Subaru platforms for the last 6 years of my life, which isn't a long time, but it's enough time to obviously have a lot of data. I also own my own company, so I have to be very abreast of everything that I'm saying right now because it's literally what puts food on my table. And the very raw situation here is that because the average age and persona of consumers purchasing the WRX is aging and getting older and more family oriented, people are spending less money on aftermarket parts, and they're buying less and they're modding less and they're tuning less. On top of that, the cost to produce aftermarket parts and the margins that all of us once had are not just reduced, they are almost non-existent, to the point that a lot of companies in the entire infrastructure of how the aftermarket part industry, how that worked for, since inception of it's been around for many years, decades, has had to be restructured because companies just literally cannot afford to sell the parts based on transaction fees for credit cards. Yes, margins are that thin on the parts that you're buying that some companies will not be able to sell you the part because the cost to process your transaction fee on their credit card or whatever it is to actually get the part sent from the manufacturer to you is too much. They cannot sell the part. So yes, the industry is suffering that much. But what does that mean? Why do you care about that? The big thing and the big reason that you care about that is because there's less incentive and less dollars to develop more parts. It is not lost on me that I get asked a ton about part development. Why isn't this there? Can you make this? All of these things. And you're seeing it across the entire industry. Also with the VB WRX, you're seeing like the lowest part development for a Subaru platform in some time. Now, yes, there's plenty of parts coming out. There's a lot of like part swap availability, meaning that things on the VA fit the VB, and that's an easy thing to then produce. But there is almost no money for product development. So what we're gonna find is by the time this generation is done, there's gonna be significantly less product development, significantly less options and variability for certain parts and options for manufacturers because smaller folks can't develop parts for this car. And what that's going to do in the long run is lower the incentivization long term for a community that is tuner related to back these cars, which lowers the requirement for Subaru, which they're definitely looking at this, to then produce a car that is tuner ready or in that vein able to be fast and all this stuff because they see the times are changing. So I think there's a lot to be said here, and I know that I've gone on maybe some tangents, but things that are very real on how do you base and form an opinion on what we're gonna see with the next generation WRX. And I think that the short answer and the purpose of this video is for all the folks that are looking to pause on their search or wait for the next thing because they've heard some content creator or news outlet report that we're gonna see a 450 horsepower, STI, or I even saw somebody, I was at a car meet 2 weekends ago, and somebody was like swearing on their life that there was gonna be a V8 STI. It's never gonna happen. But they were saying that like they had it in good information from a major news outlet that had a connect from Subaru. Subaru's like, it's not gonna happen, right? Like, will not happen. I just think that just be cautious, enjoy the platform while we have it. I think having been in the platform myself, like having been in the automotive world, the worst thing that can happen is you can find yourself essentially in a waiting pattern, and that same principle can be held across many different things in life, not just the automotive stuff, but enjoy the platform. I think now is the best time for anyone to buy a used WRX or just a used sports car and have some fun, right? You don't have to buy the newest thing, and you'd be surprised. I still think like I'm trying to get a used VA to rebuild on the channel or do some significant work on it. And the amount of conversations that I'm having with owners looking at VAs that, yeah, they're higher mileage, but trying to get one for like $6 grand, $7 grand, which most of you guys are gonna lose your mind in the comment section that doesn't exist. But I've gone and seen a bunch of them. I'm just trying to figure out certain things. Obviously, yeah, they come with risks, they come with problems, whatever it is, but you can find a running VA for well under 10 grand right now. That's not a bad deal. You're gonna have to replace stuff if you're gonna tune it, but especially when you're considering, like, if you're waiting for a new gen and you're gonna spend $45,000 thinking that you could be in a older used one and enjoy the platform, find out if you like it, find out if you like the process of tuning and doing all that stuff for not a lot of money, something to think about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know I talked a lot here. I know we talked a lot about information, but it's basically like, oh, this is almost like a news update on the Subaru platform. We're just kind of catering it towards, you know, sentiment about looking forward to the next car, because I see it all the time in comments on my channel and just, you know, in person at events and all that kind of stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up if possible. It does a lot. And if you stayed this far through the video, I always like to see you guys comment below, so I know you stuck that far through. Just let me know in the comment section that you were there. I enjoy seeing a lot of your comments because I see you guys comment the same thing, you know, over and over. I see you guys in the comments, so it's nice to see who's super active on the channel, and I definitely remember you guys, especially on the few occasions that I go live on this channel. I have to be honest, it's so exciting to see folks come into those lives that even were at the lives when I used to go live way more often, like 5 years ago. I was just like, it happened the other day. I was like changing, I think I was doing brakes or something. I can't remember, or maybe I was tinting windows and I went live. I've since deleted the lives. I try not to, because I do a lot of stuff with the lives that I'm like releasing new stuff or talking about new stuff, and I delete it so that I don't like bum anyone out because they know what's coming. But I saw some folks that were regulars in my lives from a long time ago, and I gotta say it was really exciting. So appreciate you guys being here. Talk to you soon.